This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, student. So now we will be starting with the first session of the embryology models revision. So over to Sikandar madam.
Good morning, everybody. So, am I audible? Please write in the chat box. Yes. So hope you are enjoying Diwali with studies. So today's topic is, revision of good. Revision of embryology models, cardiovascular system, alimentary system, and urogenital system. So first we will start with the cardiovascular system. So you are aware of this model, right? So what this model is depicting here? Yes, please reply. Coronal section of developing heart. Okay, correct. So this is coronal section of the developing heart. So we will identify first one by one. What is this part? What I'm showing here with the pen. Yes, correct. So this is septum primum. Below that septum primum, the space is there. And what is this space? Ostium primum, correct. So this is ostium primum and septum primum. What is the fate of septum primum? What we are getting in the adult, the remnant of the septum primum. Yes. So it is forming the floor of the fossa vogalis, correct. So first we will finish up the identification of all the parts which are depicted in this model. Along with that, we will see the remnant or fate of the structures which are visible here. Later on, we will cover up what is not seen, like septum, secundum, and right to the septum primum. One more septum is seen here. What is this? Yes, correct. That is the septum spurium. So what the septum spurium is depicting? Septum spurium is connecting something to the roof of the primitive right atrium. Okay, so lower end of the septum spurium, what is this opening we can see here? Video stopped. Okay, we will see. Video stops.
Video is on. No, it's on as well.
Harsh, are you getting my voice? You're audible? Am I audible to you? It's on now. Video is on. Yes. Harsh, I think there must be a problem with your PC or laptop. So what is this opening you can see? Yes, so this is sinoatrial orifice. And to the sinoatrial orifice, there are two walls. One is on the right side, one is on the left side. What are these two? What is this, which is the parts of the sinoatrial orifice? Okay, so right wall of the sinus venosus and the left wall of the sinus venosus. So what is this sinoatrial orifice is depicting here? What is opening here by the sinoatrial orifice? Yes. Sinus venosus, no? So we know there are two openings, right sinus venosus and the left sinus venosus. Right sinus venosus, majority part get absorbed to form the atrium. And there are few parts which are remain here. What are those? So right horn of sinus venosus, what are the structures which are formed? Yes. Rohan? Pubicean wall, Eustachian wall. What is this wall shows? These are the walls of what structures? Pubicean wall is a wall of yes, and Eustachian wall is wall of yes, correct. So right wall is forming the crista terminalis, wall of inferior vena cava, and the wall of coronary sinus, which are named as the Eustachian wall and the Pubicean wall. Correct. So right horn of the sinus venosus, which is enlarged, it absorbed to form the smooth part of the right atrium, while the left horn of the sinus venosus regresses and parts some which part is formed from the left sinus venosus. Yes, so that is the coronary sinus. Okay, it remains as the oblique vein of the Marshall. Yes, correct. So those are the fate of the right horn of the sinus venosus and the left horn of sinus venosus, as well as the valve of the sinus venosus. So these are the questions usually asked in the Viva. What is this opening and what are the fate of all these structures which are visible? So good, you are studying, so you are knowing this. So here, this is the primitive right atrium and this is the primitive left atrium. We have seen the septum primum and the ostium primum. What happens later on? What happens to the septum primum? It grows down towards this structure. What is this structure? The sinoatrial orifice also used to that. What is this structure? Yes, correct. This is endocardial cushion. So this septum primum grows down towards the endocardial cushion and fuses with the endocardial cushion. Side by side, in the upper part of the septum primum, there are perforations and there is one more foramen is formed. What foramen is that? When the septum primum fuses with the endocardial cushion in the upper part, yes, that is the ostium secundum, correct. So in the upper part of the large opening which is present later on, that is the ostium secundum. Then after that, one more septum arises. And what is that septum and from which side? After formation of the ostium secundum, correct. To the right of the septum primum or the ostium secundum, one more septum which grows down and that will be the septum secundum that is not seen in this model. Okay, and that goes down the septum primum which is already fused with the endocardial cushion. So this is forming like this. Okay, and imagine the upper part is the septum secundum, while this there I'm depicting showing the pen that might be the septum primum. So when the blood comes here, it acts as the flap. So what is the fate of the septum secundum? Septum secundum remains as the, yes, so it remains as the limbus fossa ovalis, while the septum primum remains as the fossa ovalis. Correct. So this is the endocardial cushion. What is the function of endocardial cushion? Yes. What forms the endocardial cushion? Which part of the interventricular septum? Correct. It forms the part of the interventricular septum. So we can see in the lower part, there is a primitive right ventricle and the primitive left ventricle. And we can see a septum which is growing from the base of the lower part of the developing heart upwards, and that is forming the muscular part of the interventricular septum. While above we can see this is the endocardial cushion. Correct? So endocardial cushion along with the right bulbar septum and the left bulbar septum forms the membranous part of the interventricular septum. Correct. So we can see the interventricular septum are having the muscular part and the membranous part. So the muscular part here we can see in the lower part, which is formed by the growth which is growing upwards from the primitive ventricle, and that is from the interventricular septum, while the endocardial cushion along with the right bulbar and the left bulbar septum forms the membranous part of the interventricular septum. Yes, correct. Now we can see the canal is present between the primitive atrium and the primitive ventricle. What this is named as, this part is named as, yeah, sorry, yeah. So this is the atrioventricular canal, correct, which is communicating from the primitive atrium to the primitive ventricle, and then later on the balls are formed. Correct. So all these are the structures which are seen from the, we are viewing the coronal section, we are viewing from front. Okay. Now we will see what are the structures we will see from the posterior side. Here we can see this is the primitive right atrium, this is the primitive left atrium, and we can see the primitive ventricle, and the interventricular septum is not seen here, but something is there which is lying on the posterior side. What is this? Yes. This part, left horn of the sinus venosus, correct? And here we can see the right horn of the sinus venosus, and this is open. We can see the sinoatrial orifice which is opening towards the right side. So this is how it is seen from the posterior side. So we have seen already what is the fate of the right horn of the sinus venosus and the left horn of the sinus venosus, as well as the walls of the sinoatrial orifice, what it is forming. So here also we are getting the questions about the sinus venosus and what are the fate of all these structures which are visible in this coronal section. Is it clear about this model? Any doubt about this model? If you are getting this model in the Viva, are you able to answer all these questions? First, you have to name or label what is seen, which we will trace, and then identify the structures. What are the structures are seen? And then you are getting consequent questions. What are the fate and the remnant of all these structures? So that is the, before that, we should see this. What is this? Yes. Can you see this model? The first system in the body which becomes functional, correct, this is developing heart tube. So the first system in the body which becomes functional is the cardiovascular system. And at what age of the intrauterine life it becomes functional? Yes. 24th, 22nd. Okay, so it's approximately 5th week of the intrauterine life when it becomes functional. So before that, we can see from which germ layer the heart develops. Ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm. From which germ layer? Mesoderm. So in the towards the cranial end, just behind the septum, just caudal to the septum transversum, there are the two endothelial tubes which gets fused in the mesenchyme to form the single heart tube. And here we can see the heart tube is bent, and the parts of the heart tube which are visible here, the upper part which is forming the bulbous cordis. Here we can see the primitive ventricle and the primitive atrium. And there are two openings to the heart tube towards the upper end, that is the arterial end, and towards the venous end. So what is this opening towards the arterial end? Yes. Ectoderm, also non-neural crest. Yes, neural crest cells are going to form the atrioventricular cushions of the walls, but it is arising from the mesoderm, the mesenchymal tissue there form the heart tube, the tubes, primitive two tubes, and that fuse to form the single tube. So the endometrium mainly is formed from the mesoderm. So this end is truncus arteriosus. So the upper part of the bulbous cordis is forming the truncus arteriosus, to which the arteries arises. The six pair of the arteries which are opening in the truncus arteriosus, and this later on that is forming the conus and all. So here we can see the bulbous cordis. This is the primitive ventricle, primitive atrium. Towards the primitive atrium we can see the opening, that is the towards the primitive atrium, the opening in which we can see is the sinus venosus. So first there will be the opening of the right and the left sinus venosus. Now in this model we can see now there is the bending of the heart tube is done. So here we can see what is this structure. This is the part of, yes, bulbous cordis, correct. This is the bulbous cordis. In the above upper part here we can see the truncus arteriosus, and the arteries are not seen in this model. You can see this is the bulbous cordis, while this one is the, yes, primitive ventricle. This is the primitive ventricle, correct. This part is the primitive right atrium. We can see here towards the right side it is developing, and here we can see the primitive left atrium. A groove which is present between the bulbous cordis and the primitive ventricle is the, what is this groove? This groove is named as, correct. So this is bulboventricular groove. Okay, so this is how the bending of the heart tube is happened. The bulbous cordis, and there is the development of the bulboventricular groove. We can see the primitive ventricle, and when we see the section by the side, there is the development of the interventricular septum as well as the interatrial septum. But we can see how the pulmonary. So here, the bulbar ridges septum are developing from the inner aspect. So those are the right bulbar septum and the left bulbar septum fuses with the endocardial cushion divide to form the ascending aorta and the pulmonary trunk. But in this model, we can see mainly the primitive structures and the bulboventricular groove. So first, you have to identify all the structures which are visible or depicted in this model, and later on you can get the questions, or you can talk about the fate of the structures, what are seen here. So the first model which we have seen, that is of the coronal section of the heart, that's very important. You should be very clear about the each and every part which is depicted there and what are the fate of all the structures which are visible in that model. Any query in this? Any query or any comment you want to give comment about these models? Then we can go ahead with the second model. So for cardiovascular system, you are getting these models. Now we'll see the elementary system. Yes, first we will discuss some part about that. The elementary system, the gastrointestinal tract, develops from which germ layer? Endoderm. Okay. So after formation of the head fold, tail fold, and the lateral foldings, the endoderm, the tubular structure is formed. That is the endoderm, which is freely communicating with the yolk sac. Correct. So what is that duct is named as the communication? Yes. Vitellointestinal duct, correct. Anything else? Omphalloenteric canal. It is also named as the omphalloenteric canal. So that the endoderm, which is forming the tubular structure, and that gets divided into the three parts. What are those? Yes, foregut, midgut, and the hindgut. Correct. So foregut, midgut, hindgut. There are certain structures which develops from the foregut, the part which develops from the midgut and the hindgut, that we will see. So in this model, we can see so do you remember this model? What is this depicting here? Okay, correct. So this is depicting the developing gut and its arterial supply. So when I consider as the in the anatomical position, this is lying like this. So this is connected to the anterior abdominal wall by the ventral mesogastrium, while posteriorly it is connected to the posterior abdominal wall by the dorsal mesogastrium. So here we can see the fusiform dilatation. To visible all the parts, I will show you like this, but the position is like this. So this fusiform dilatation is in the foregut, that is forming the primitive stomach. The artery which is seen here is the, what is this artery? Celiac artery. Okay. A loop is formed below the fusiform dilated structure. What is this loop? This is midgut loop. Okay, and the artery which is supplying here is the, this artery is the superior mesenteric artery, correct? And the part of the gut which is lying here, this is hindgut, correct? And the artery supplying to the hindgut is the inferior mesenteric artery, correct? So we can see here this is the dorsal aorta, from which we can see the celiac artery, the superior mesenteric artery, and the inferior mesenteric artery, which is supplying the parts of the foregut, midgut, and the hindgut. So what are the derivatives of the foregut? First we will see that. What are the derivatives of the foregut? Okay, you all are knowing what are the parts of the foregut, fate of the foregut. Yes. Okay, lower part of the respiratory system, the stomach, and the duodenum up to the junction of the second part of the duodenum, that the junction of the upper and the lower half, that is opening of the bile duct. Okay, respiratory diverticulum which develops, which is giving rise to the trachea, the bronchial tree, and the lungs. Then from the foregut also develops the hepatic bud and the correct pancreas and the gallbladder. Yes, correct. All these structures are developing from the foregut. The midgut, from the midgut, what structures develop? Yes, correct. All these structures are developing: the respiratory system, stomach, liver, pancreas, extrahepatic biliary apparatus develops from the foregut. And from the midgut, the lower part of the duodenum, that is from the opening of the bile duct. That is the junction of the second part of the duodenum from the at the middle. Okay. Then the lower part of the duodenum, jejunum, ileum, cecum, appendix, ascending colon, and the part of the transverse colon, that is the right 2/3. Majority of the time, that is the junction of the right 2/3 and the left 1/3 of the transverse colon. At that point, the right 2/3 develops from the midgut, while the left 1/3 is developing from the hindgut. From the rest of the structures of the elementary system here is developing from the hindgut. That is the left 1/3 of the transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon, rectum, and the upper part of the anal canal, that is developing from the hindgut. So we know all these structures which are developing from this, the gut. Now we can see the midgut loop is there and the superior mesenteric artery is supplying there. So we can see the part which is lying above this artery is the pre-arterial segment, and the part which is below that is the post-arterial segment. So what are the structures which develops from the pre-arterial segment? Yes, correct. Yes, pre-arterial segment. What are the structures which develop from the pre-arterial segment? Yes, lower part of the duodenum, jejunum, and the ileum. While the post-arterial segment is the cecum, appendix, ascending colon, and the right 2/3 of the transverse colon, that is developing from the post-arterial segment. This we should understand because to see the rotation of the gut. So during development in the abdominal cavity, there is the growth of the liver, and the septum transversum is growing, spleen is also growing. So there is no space in the no enough space in the abdominal cavity to grow for the growth of the intestine. So the umbilical herniation occurs, that is a physiological herniation. So here we can see the pre-arterial segment and the post-arterial segment. This part comes along in the omphalloenteric canal. So from the abdominal cavity, it comes out. And there will be the growth. The pre-arterial segment is growing faster. So there is the rotation first. There will be the 90 degrees anti-clockwise. So this pre-arterial segment goes towards the right side, and the post-arterial segment comes towards the left side. When this intestine is going back, so there is a developed space in the abdominal cavity and reduced size of the liver and the other organs in the abdomen. So the intestine is growing back in the abdominal cavity. During going back towards the abdominal cavity, there will be the 180 degrees rotation anti-clockwise. So there will be total 270 degrees rotation. So first there is a 90-degree rotation. In such case, at that position, the small intestine comes towards the right side and the large intestine or the post-arterial segment lies towards the left side. And when it is going back, that is the later 180 degrees rotation, now the small intestine is going towards the left side of the abdominal cavity, and the cecum, appendix, and the ascending colon goes towards the right side of the abdominal cavity. While the superior mesenteric artery, the small intestine, is lying anterior to the superior mesenteric artery. Sorry, the transverse colon lies anterior to the superior mesenteric artery. So normally, that is the normal position of the intestine. The celiac, the cecal, but the cecum, the appendix, and the ascending colon lies in the right side of the abdominal cavity, while the jejunum and ileum, which is the pre-arterial part, which is developed from the pre-arterial part, lies in the left side of the abdominal cavity. That is the normal position after the physiological herniation or the umbilical herniation of the intestine. But sometimes there will be the non-rotation and the reverse rotation. In the non-rotation, the large intestine of the cecum ascending colon lies towards the left side, and the jejunum and ileum lies towards the jejunum and ileum lies towards the left side, and the transverse colon, ascending colon lies towards the in the opposite direction. Whatever lies in the normal side, that's exactly opposite lies in the non-rotation. Jejunum and ileum is towards the right side, and the ascending colon cecum is towards the left side in the non-rotation. While in the reverse rotation, the transverse colon goes behind the superior mesenteric artery. So in such cases, in the reverse rotation, the transverse colon gets compressed. So that is about the midgut rotation. Is it clear? So how much is the midgut rotation? 270 degrees. Am I audible? Yes. So what happens in the reverse rotation? In the reverse rotation, the transverse colon lies behind the superior mesenteric artery. Yes. Okay. So when you are getting this model in the exam, you may get the questions like, first you have to identify what are the structures are visible. Then you must know the fate of these structures, like from foregut, midgut, and the hindgut, and then rotation of the midgut. That is what are structures developing from the pre-arterial segment, post-arterial segment, and what is the relation when there is the herniation, physiological herniation, and how much degree the rotation is occurring. First of all, there is a 90 degrees anti-clockwise, and later on there will be the 180 degrees anti-clockwise. And then these herniated intestines are going back towards the abdominal cavity. So is it clear about this? Any doubt here? The lower part of the anal canal is formed from the proctodeum, while the upper part of the anal canal is formed from the lower part of the hindquarter. Yes, correct. And the duodenum in front. And in non-rotation? Normally, the small intestine, that is jejunum and ileum, is towards the left side. Cecum and ascending colon is towards the right side. That is the normal position. But what happens in non-rotation? If there is no rotation, then so first 90 degrees, how it is came outside. Like jejunum ileum will lie on the right side, and the cecum and ascending colon lies on the left side in case of non-rotation. Yes, correct. That is about this intestine. So as we have seen, there is the ventral mesogastrium and the dorsal mesogastrium attached here towards the stomach and the gut as well. So the mesentery remains for the small intestine, jejunum and the ileum. Well, majority part of the duodenum is retroperitoneal, as well as the large intestine is retroperitoneum. Transverse colon is having the mesentery, that is the transverse mesothelium. While when the rotation is happening, there is also rotation of the stomach. Here we can see this is the anterior border and this is the posterior border. This is the left surface and this is the right surface. So there will be the 90 degree rotation is happening in the stomach. So this lesser anterior border is going towards the right side, okay, and to form the lesser curvature, while the posterior border is going towards the left side to form the greater curvature. So there will be the attachment of the ventral mesogastrium towards the right side, that is forming the lesser omentum, and that dorsal mesogastrium which is attached to the posterior border is forming the greater omentum. So we know the right and the left vagus supplies here. The left vagus is supplying the left surface and the right vagus supplies the right surface. But after 90 degrees rotation, the left vagus is supplying now the anterior surface. So this is how we know, this justifies why the left vagus is supplying towards the anterior surface, while the right vagus now is supplying towards the posterior surface. Okay, so the along with that, the pyloric, this lower end of the stomach is lying just superficial. It is coming towards the anterior abdominal wall, and the upper end of the stomach is just when we see in a coronal plane, it goes just behind, like towards the posterior abdominal. That is the position of the stomach in case of adult. Yes. So we can now move on. I hope you understood this. Any queries about the gastro alimentary system? So you should understand, or you should know all the fate and the rotation of the gut, as well as the attachment towards the stomach. Now we'll see the next model. Yes, now you can identify what is depicted in this model. First, name the model. You must have seen this during the classes. Yes. So now we have seen till now the cardiovascular system and the alimentary system. Now we'll see the urogenital system. So urogenital system is growing side by side. So in this model, it is depicted the posterior abdominal wall of the female embryo. Female embryo we can see here. So first we will revise the identification. What are the structures are depicted here? What is this? The purple color structure here. Right kidney, correct. This is right kidney. So this is okay, developing right kidney, correct. This is left kidney. Yes. So first the kidney is developed in the pelvic region, then ascent of the kidneys happens. So almost it is towards the abdominal, towards the posterior abdominal wall in the upper part. So this is the kidney. What is this? The pink color structures which is related towards the upper part of the kidney. So yes, correct. So this is the right suprarenal gland. Correct. This is right suprarenal gland. So can you see the relation of the size of the kidney and the size of the suprarenal gland? What do you understand? Like, what do you notice? What you are noticing here? Is it normal, the size of the kidney and the suprarenal gland as it is seen in the adult? Or any difference is there? Yes. So here it is depicted the suprarenal gland is larger. So during development, the suprarenal gland is larger. That is normal. So fetal, the suprarenal gland, we know it consists of the cortex and the medulla. Yes, fetal cortex is larger. So can you write down what are the source from which this develops suprarenal gland? The cortex and the medulla. Which part is from the coelomic epithelium and which part is from the neural crest? Paras? Okay. Neural crest cells are developing the medulla is developing from the neural crest cells. Okay, and the cortex is from the medulla. Correct. So that is the suprarenal gland and the developing kidneys. Now we can see here the blue color structure. What is this? Identify this structure. Yes, so this is the ovaries. We can see pair of ovaries, right side and the left side. There is something connected to the upper pole of the ovary towards the abdominal wall, towards the posterior abdominal wall. What is this light green structure? Yes, so this light green structure here is the gubernaculum. Correct. So this is ovary and this is the gubernaculum. And there is something red structure which is going towards the ovary. What is this red thing? Yes, so this is the gonadal artery here. In this case, it is the ovarian artery. So why it is coming from the upper part? From which level? This artery, gonadal artery, is a branch from. It's a branch from. Yes, ovarian artery is a branch from the abdominal aorta. Correct. It's a branch from the abdominal aorta. From which level? At which level it arises from the abdominal aorta? Okay, just below the renal artery. Vertebral level, you know. At what vertebral level you are getting this artery? So it is at the level of the L2 vertebra. So this is the gonadal artery. Why? Because the gonads are developing in the upper part. Okay, towards the abdominal or the nephrogenic area, just above the nephrogenic cord, it is developing, and later on the gonads descend. So ovaries descend up to the iliac fossa, while the testis is going to descend in the scrotal sac. So that's why the gonadal artery is a branch from the abdominal aorta at the level of the L2 vertebra. Okay. Now what is this yellow color structure here? The yellow color structure. Yes. Which gut tube? Which part of the gut is seeing this? Yes. So this is the hind gut. Correct. So we show the endoderm as a yellow color. Okay. So the gut we draw as a yellow color. So here we can see this is the part of the hind gut, that is the developing rectum. Okay. Now lateral to that, we can see a dark green color structure. Pair of the dark green color structure which is uniting in the lower part. What is this? Yes. Mullerian duct. Any other name? Yes. So as this is the model which is depicting the female embryo, the posterior abdominal wall, this is the paramesonephric duct. So we can see the pair of the paramesonephric duct on the either side. When we see in the lower part, this is going or this is lying towards each other. Okay, and then in the lower part it is uniting. So when we notice in the upper part, we can see it is a broader end. So this part, the broader end, is forming the fimbriated end of the fallopian tube. Yes, and this part will form, the middle part is forming the, what is the fate of the paramesonephric duct? Yes, fate of the paramesonephric duct. Yes, please answer. Okay, correct. So the unfused part is forming the uterine tube. While the fused part, which is we can see towards the medial side, it is forming the annulus, uterovaginal annulus, and then it is forming later on the body of the uterus, and the lower part is forming the uterovaginal canal, and then the female reproductive organ in the lower part it is forming the vagina, and in the upper part it is forming the uterus. And here we can see the middle part of the fallopian tube, while we can see the fimbriated end here, which is developing from this part of the paramesonephric duct. Finger-like projection, it is broader here, not proper finger-like, but broader end is seen. Right. So this is the paramesonephric duct. While here from the kidney we can see something is growing down. What is this? Sorry. Now you can see what is this. Identify this tubular structure. Yes. So ureter. Ureter is developing from which part? Ureteric bud. Yes. Ureteric bud or mesonephric duct. So here you can see this is the developing ureter, and here this is the, what is this structure? Bladder, urinary bladder, correct. So this is the urinary bladder. The same color is given for the ureter as well. So urinary bladder is developing from the lower part of the hindgut is divided by the a septum which is growing down into two structures, that is the, yes, urorectal septum, correct. Yes, yes, is it correct? So it is divided by the urorectal septum into the urogenital sinus and anterior, yes. So anterior part is the urogenital sinus and the primitive rectum. So in the upper part of the urogenital sinus is forming the urinary bladder, correct? While the ureter is formed from the ureteric bud, while kidneys are formed from the collecting system and the excretory part. What is the collecting system is developed from the, is from which part? While the excretory part of the kidneys are developed from, yes, okay. So the collecting part is developing from the ureteric bud, while the metanephric blastema or the, yes, excretory part is developing from the metanephros, yes, metanephric blastema. Then later on there will be the communication. Yes. So here when you are getting this model, so this is the female embryo model of the posterior abdominal wall. We can see first we have to identify. So we have identified almost all the structures. All structures we have identified. Then you should know fate of the individual structure and what are the structure are formed from, like the urinary bladder development. We can see the primitive rectum here. Then paramesonephric duct we can see. So first you should know the identification of all these parts. Any doubt here in identification? So in this we can see all these structures, suprarenal, kidneys, paramesonephric duct, ovaries, gonadal artery, rectum. Yes, this structure we haven't labeled. What is this? Just on either side of the urinary bladder. What is this light green structure? Yes, round ligament. So can you answer how is the round ligament attachment? How it is attached? Round ligament of uterus is attached to which part of the uterus? And then it goes to, okay, it is attached at the corners of the uterus on either side. Anterior to that is the fallopian tube, opening of the fallopian tube in the uterus, while posteriorly there will be the ovarian ligament. And in middle part, there is the attachment of the round ligament on either side of the angle of the uterus, and then it passes through. That is one end of the attachment of the round ligament. The other end where it is attached, yes, it passes through the inguinal canal and correct. And then it is attached to the labium majus. Yes, correct. So that is one of the important factor or important ligament which is keeping the uterus in a normal position. That is, it is maintaining the angles. That is the angle of the anti-flexion, angle of the anti-flexion. That is the proper. So that is important ligament which is for the support of the uterus. Yes. Any doubt in this model? So here you should understand, or you should know each and everything about the development of the urogenital system. Now we'll see the next model. This model is depicting the development of the external genitalia. At the 7th week of the intrauterine life, the male and the female external genitalia are similar. After the formation of the gonads become functional. Sex of the embryo is determined at the fertilization only, but the external genitalia develops later on. But at the age of the 7th week of the intrauterine life, the external genitalia of male and female look similar. So what are the structures seen there? There will be the genital ridge which is developed just anterior to the cloacal membrane. So here we can see this is the genital ridge and two folds are there. Here we can see the smaller folds which are seen is the urogenital fold, and on either side there will be the labioscrotal folds. This genital ridge becomes the primitive phallus. So this is the stage similar in the male as well as in the female. So this genital ridge forms the primitive phallus. Yes. Now you just identify what happens later on in the development of the female external genitalia. What is happening here? What is this? Just identify what is this. What is this structure? Yes. The phallus is regressed and here it is formed the primitive clitoris. Yes, correct. So this is the developing primitive clitoris, and we can see the urogenital folds are not fused here. Okay, but it is fused on the posterior side. And then later on, then there is the formation of the opening here, and that is the vestibule, and in which there will be the opening of the urethra, primitive urethra, and the opening of the vagina. So here we can see this is the urogenital folds which are not fused, only fused on the posterior side in case of females. And while these labioscrotal swellings or the folds, these are becomes prominent and that get fused on the posterior side, and this remain as it is as the labia major, labium majus in case of female external genitalia. And when we see the male external genitalia, so now here we can see now the this primitive phallus is growing here. We can see the primitive phallus which is enlarged to form the phallus or the primitive penis, and the urogenital folds or the urethral folds fused to form the spongy urethra, while the labioscrotal swellings like this is enlarged. Now the labioscrotal swellings gets growing, and these are forming the scrotal sac. Labioscrotal swellings in case of males form the scrotum, while the urogenital folds or the urethral folds fuse to form the spongy urethra, and the primitive phallus is forming the primitive penis. That is about the male external genitalia. So at the age of 7th week of intrauterine life, it is not recognizable, but these are the structures at the 9th week, 9th, 11th, and the 12th week. Similarly, this is the model which is depicting the external genitalia of male embryo, 9th week, 10th week, and the 12th week. So at the age of the 17th week or 18th week of the intrauterine life, it is clearly, the external genitalia is clearly identified and it is developing. That is about the urogenital system. So we have seen till now the cardiovascular system, alimentary system, and the urogenital system. So any doubt here? Any queries? Yes, please reply. If there are no doubts, then we can go ahead to the next session. Am I audible? Okay. So now I'm giving the mic to Dr. Rajnish sir to cover the next session.
Okay, thank you, students. So we'll close this session here. At 11:30, we will start with the next session with the next link. Thank you. नहीं 15 मिनट मैडम का काम है, वो लिंक ज्यादा है,
मतलब मैंने टाइम पे लिया ना?
टाइम पे टाइम